My guest today is Christopher Morris. He is a hypnotherapist from Bristol who works online with clients in the UK and abroad. He spent 30 years in the performing arts industry as an actor, director and teacher before training as a hypnotherapist. He changed career after struggling with his own mental health, partly due to the death of his daughter Aoife and his son Lucas in 2014. He is passionate about bringing out the best in people and has a wealth of experience helping clients deal with problems and finding solutions. Each week, he sets aside 5 hours for reduced rate or pro bono work to help others. He has a sports-mad son that keeps him busy most days as chauffeur to Alex's sporting activities. When he's not behind the wheel of the car, he spends his time watching Bristol City FC, taking country walks with the family and negotiating for the TV remote control. Hi, Chris. How are you doing? Lovely to have you here on the show.
Lovely to meet you, Madeleine.
So if you've been listening to the show, we are called Unbroken. And the first question I ask every guest is, what does that word unbroken mean to you?
Well, when we set this call up, I was thinking about it, and I've been doing my family history for a very long time, and as a family we've actually got our own coat of arms, and our coat of arms is in Latin is erupta copula, which literally means unruptured or unbroken bond.
How amazing is that?
And it was given to one of my ancestors in the 1600s, and so to me unbroken is a positive. It's actually it's not negative at all, really. It's about a bond with what's happened to you in life, but it's also a bond with all the people around you and how you move forward. So I see it as a very, very strong unbroken bond, the relationship between me and the event that's changed my life, but also the bond I have with everything I do on every day leading forward. So it's an extremely positive thing.
Yeah, I've never had anyone that's had a family history of being unbroken back to the 1600s. It's almost been a family motto. So it's like in your genes, in your genetics. That's quite something, isn't it?
It is, and I had never really thought about it before. And it was literally just when you said, what does unbroken mean to me? And I thought, well, actually, we've got that family motto going back to the 1600s. And it never really struck. And it wasn't until I read the email and saw that. But it's about relationships, and being aware of what's happened in our lives, but also the fact that we can leave it where it is. And that's one of the things I talk with clients all the time. Leave it where it is, but move on.
Yeah. But you've had really, you say a tragedy, but you've had a few tragedies in your life, and most people would find, I think, one of them, difficult to come to terms with. But you really lost 3 babies and nearly lost your wife. So your wife was pregnant with Aoife in 2014. Yeah. Can you tell us what happened to her?
Yes, we have a son, Alex, so as you mentioned, is sport mad and very physically fit. And Sarah was pregnant with our second child, and we were really excited, as all parents are. And we went through the process of the scans, and I remember it, really clearly, because as many people would who've been in the situation, we were talking with the consultant, and then the scan came through, and it was a moment of silence. It was one of those moments where you think, what's wrong? What's happening? And they said, well, actually, if you look at the scan, we can't see any kidneys. It doesn't look like the baby's developing any kidneys. And so we had these conversations with the consultant and trying to make a decision of what to do, because it was the baby was going to be incompatible with life. There was not a chance that the baby would survive.
So I was going to say, even if the baby was born, as soon as it was born, it would be dead, basically. There's no way
because with no kidneys, you couldn't do it. There was nothing happening because Sarah wasn't getting bigger, because I didn't really understand the process of pregnancies, but there was very little amniotic fluid, and so she wasn't getting bigger because the baby wasn't getting bigger because it wasn't producing anything.
It wasn't thriving inside of her.
Yeah, so we had to make a decision, and we didn't do it lightly. I mean, we talked about it, and then we had to have some time to think about it. And one of the things that we considered was, after 24 weeks, your baby can have a name and it can have a proper certificate. And so we did that deliberately. We knew we'd have to have the baby terminated because it wouldn't survive. It would either die inside Sarah, or she, we go off full term and then die shortly afterwards. And we didn't want that trauma for either baby or for Sarah.
Yeah.
So we decided to leave it till 24 weeks so that the baby could be born properly and have a name. And then on the 29th of April 2014, we went into the St Michael's Hospital, and the baby had an injection into the heart to stop the heart. One of the things that I picked up when I was training as a hypnotherapist was we had to learn this sort of almost spiel, this speech when we meet clients for the first time, which now is so ingrained in my head I don't even think about it. But one of the lines was, "We're better as a tribe than we are as individuals." And it makes me think often that we're apes fundamentally. And apes are very family orientated. Chimpanzees, gorillas, or whatever, they work together in family groups, and lots of animals do actually. Like wolves are have a very strong structure, and we're most successful when we interact with people. And when we're depressed or when we're anxious, we withdraw. We take ourselves away from it because the primitive brain is trying to protect us. But in doing that, it makes our lives worse because it withdraws us from all the other things.
Yeah.
And when I had that relationship breakdown, which led to the book eventually, I remember, this is going back, say, 20 or 25 years ago or something like that, but I refused to answer the phone. I had friends knocking on my door. I didn't talk to my family for weeks. I just withdrew completely.
Just cut off completely.
And my primitive brain was deliberately cutting me off, and it was a very. So
it's kind of like protection, but almost sabotaging and hurting you in the same moment, really, isn't it?
Yeah.
So really, connections and finding your tribe are so important, isn't it?
Yeah, absolutely, and I think that's when people are struggling with their mental health, the first thing to go is their connection. Yeah. And that's what that takes us. A nice little segue goes back to erupta copula, an unbroken bond. We need that unbroken bond with our friends, our family, our work colleagues, whoever. And it can be just the people you play sport with once a week, you go training with. You need those little.
And you do have a special team that you play sports with, don't you?
Yes,
you say it could just be the people I play sports, but it is a beautiful team that really nobody wants to be a member of.
That's exactly. It's called Sands United, and it was founded by a couple of guys in Northampton for men who have lost children. And so we're all a member of a team we don't want to be in, but actually when Pete, who works for Sands now as one of their coordinators, sports coordinators, he founded Sands United Bristol, and they've dotted up all around the country in Scotland, Ireland, Wales, and we just get together and we play football. We have our babies' names on our shirts, and if we need to talk, we can talk online. We have our WhatsApp group where every time somebody's anniversary, so one of the players yesterday, it was the anniversary of his baby's death, and everybody's sending positive messages just so they know they're not forgotten. And on a match day, the person who's got the closest birthday to the date we're playing is captain for the day, and the two teams from the away team, so it could be Sands United, Cardiff, or Exeter, or whatever, we all sit down around the centre circle and just have a moment of silence, remembering our children. And it's a very powerful thing because men are historically awful at speaking about what the problem is. We'll just carry on. And I was in a Sands meeting one day, and this chap said to me, well, it probably comes down to the fact that we like to fix things. And we can't fix this. We can't fix it for our wife. We can't fix it for the children we've already got or whatever. But we're desperate to try and solve the problem. And in doing so, we can't solve our own problems.
So then you feel helpless.
We feel helpless. And for a man to admit that, that's very difficult. It's getting better because there's lots of help out there for men. Absolutely. And, more help is needed we all know the suicide figures for men.
Are higher in men than they are in women.
Yeah, and I've lost two friends to suicide over the years, and one was an actor who was life and soul of the party, and another guy who was exactly the same. He wasn't an actor, but you see him in a pub and he was funny and joking, and they're just hiding it. Yeah. And so it's one of the reasons why I try and do this sort of pro bono work and free work for people. Because I know that not everybody can afford stuff. Not everybody is aware of what help is out there. And I think I worked out that during lockdown, I gave out effectively £10,000 worth of free
because you
therapy.
gave free sessions to the NHS workers, didn't you?
NHS workers, anybody
beautiful
who,
thing to do.
I reached out to people on Twitter when people were saying I'm struggling, and I'd say, look, I can help you. I'll help you for nothing, because there again, we're better as a tribe than we are as individuals. And if somebody can reach out to you and help you completely randomly,
it's a beautiful random act of kindness. It really is.
Yeah,
there's a lot about you and your heart.
Yeah, and I wrote in this room. You probably see some guitars behind me, and I play guitar, and I've written songs, and years ago I did write a song called "Random Acts of Kindness," because it's something that is very close. It comes down to my parents. My parents are still married after 60+ years, and my dad will walk past my mum and just touch her on the shoulder or brush her hair or whatever, and they, I think being brought up by them has really instilled in me a belief of trying to do what's right.
Kindness and compassion. So we are really at the end of our session here. Session interview goes so quick. Just a moment for you to offer any advice or anything you felt you haven't said. What would you like to leave our listeners with?
Well, I think that the people need to find out what works for them. I mean, hypnotherapy works for a lot of people. Counselling, there's lots of things, but I think that just try and find someone to talk to, have that first initial consultation, and trust that there are plenty of people out there who have the knowledge and the ability to help you. You do not have to be on your own, because being on your own in that lonely situation, I've been there, you've been there, and we know what it's like. But the other belief pattern you need to have is that actually you can get through whatever happens, no matter what the trauma is. You can come out, you can smile, you can laugh again, you can enjoy every day, and you can leave that pain and sorrow where it is in the past and live for today, plan for tomorrow, and live for tomorrow. But the initial thing is find someone to talk to. Do not suffer in silence.
Absolutely, it's such an important message. So, Chris, I just want to really thank you for taking time out of your day to speaking to us on Unbroken, the podcast. Thank you.
It's been a real pleasure, Madeleine. Thank you.